Welcome everyone to the Spiritual Forum. So glad you're here. I have with me a very interesting person, and he's got a fascinating story. His name is Christopher Peters, and Christopher is an American actor, movie producer, and writer. He is part of the Peters entertainment family. His father is movie producer Jon Peters, and his mother is Lesley Ann Warren. And I'm a boomer, so I know who Lesley Ann Warren is. She's one of my favorites, and she was in the wonderful Rodgers and Hammerstein's production of Cinderella when I was a little girl.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just love her. Anyway, Christopher, back to him. He was one of the first producers to start, create, and get approved a no holds barred fight show, the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship, with a major television network, Showtime and BMG Home Video. And this has continued with the trend of UFC and reality fight shows on TV today. Peters also formed his own production company, Chris Peters Entertainment, which produces, finances, and distributes movies for TV, video, and theater. But that's not why we have him here with us today. The story we're going to hear is about this interesting episode that happened 3 years ago on a sunny California day at his house near Calabasas,
No,
California.
Calabasas.
Calabasas? I'm speaking it like
Malibu.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Calabasas.
I
Calabasas,
like
California.
it better when you say it.
Yeah. And Christopher's life and physical reality was obliterated because from out of the clear blue sky, the creators of the universe entered his life in the flesh and never left. So Christopher's had an amazing encounter and continues to an amazing experience. He's going to talk to us about the creators of the universe who entered his life and their message is and what is ours to do. Anyway, welcome, Christopher.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. It's just a total honor and gift to be able to be with you guys. And for me, it's everything, and I just really appreciate your time and be given a chance because I understand what is I understand what those statements sound like. And I always big gulp whenever I write letters to people to be on a podcast or write stuff on my own past to set or tell people, because it's just like I know what I sound like, but the truth is it's all true.
Yeah,
And yeah.
you did approach me with an email, and
Yeah.
I read the email, and I was immediately fascinated, and then I was like, wow, I mean, this guy is either going to be so amazing or he's crazy. And
Yeah.
I know that very, very amazing people in the world, like Jesus Christ was considered crazy. So,
uh,
just
Listen, okay, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, so that's absolutely right. It's like I have this total awareness, self-awareness of what I sound like, what this all is, the kind of the enormity of making those kinds of statements, just all of it. There's nothing to do with me. There's nothing about me that's special more than any other person. We're all the same. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at our little birds are flying. I take care of a bunch of birds. That's part of it. But anyways, let me just kind of give the rundown of my life, and then I can go try to get into this as fast as possible with maybe a little background on me. Is that okay?
I think that'd be some background, and then tell us about this initial
Yeah,
experience 3 years ago.
of course. Yeah, I will absolutely. I'll do like my life in a kind of a crunch like nugget, and then I'll back into exactly when it started and the whole deal.
Okay.
So I was born, I was born in 1968. I'm 53. God, I forgot how old I am. So I think I'm like 53, 54. Yeah, 53. I was born in Los Angeles, California. My mom was Lesley Ann Warren. She's an actor, Cinderella, Family Band, and Victoria. She's my mom. And my dad is, back then was a hairdresser. His name is Jon Peters. And then he later became a producer. So my mom and dad were married. For a few years and had me. And sorry, I just think I saw a hawk fly over. I take care of these birds, and I lost one of my birds the other day. It just crushed me. Sorry. So they were together for a few years. My dad was intensely violent and crazy and also very charismatic, a Cherokee Indian, Italian, riding like, chopper down Sunset Boulevard, PCH, with long hair and like, in bikini underpants and cowboy boots. And like, if you ever seen the movie Shampoo, this is dating myself a little bit, with Warren Beatty. It's about Warren Beatty is this hairdresser in Beverly Hills who's this very chic, rides a motorcycle, but has sex with all the sort of starlets and rich wives of men and, people in town, and is this kind of womanizer. And that movie was basically taken about my dad and a couple other people, Gene Shakov. So my dad was this hairdresser in the 60s, very successful. Him and Vidal Sassoon were kind of like the two competing guys in the world. He had a shop in the Valley and in Beverly Hills. And my mom was this very innocent, very sensitive Jewish girl from New York City, ballerina, actor, had just gotten noticed by Walt Disney, and got sort of like that last sort of contract player type of deal for Disney. And she was slated to do Cinderella and Family Band, a couple things. And so my mom came out to LA, and one night they were at a party, and my dad and mom, and they met. And it was definitely like that opposites attract thing. I think for sure they got together to have me, because from the moment that they got together, my dad has always been this amazing, charismatic guy, but also very violent, very menacing, and cruel. And but also can be extremely loving and warm and charismatic and sweep you off your feet. It's a very confusing blend. So my dad's thing was, he was started out as a good little boy, I think, a very kind, sweet spirit. And his father, Jack, was Cherokee Indian, short order cook in the Valley, but a very earthy dude. They loved each other. He died holding my father, when my dad was 8 years old. And I think that shattered my dad's spirit, and I think at that point, my dad was like, I'm hell bent to have money, and that's going to be my comfort, and nothing's going to stop me from that. And no matter who I have to kind of go through, walk over, use, or become part of, whatever, that's where I'm going to be, and then mixed in with that is can be some amazing human emotion, etc. So my mom and dad were in this relationship. I came into it. And then, my dad got a call one day from Warner Brothers saying that Barbara Streisand needed a wig for Hello Dolly. And my dad was also famous at the time. He had a shop in Beverly Hills in the Valley, not for just cutting hair, but for doing wigs, like kind of specialty wigs. And so he's like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. So he was slated to go see Barbara up at her house in Bel Air. It was on Carrollwood Drive. That was right. We lived there for many years after they got together. So, but that's before that. I'm jumping ahead too quickly. So my dad went up there, and again, motorcycle, total hippie, thing. And Barbara was this very kind of different, spirited creature than my mom, and totally like not like my dad in any way. And so when he pulled through the gates of Bel Air, their Art Deco gates, everybody was like, who the fuck, excuse my language, who the heck is this person? And it was really a crazy thing. And so my dad waited for Barbara. Their meeting was at 1:00, and she made him wait for like an hour. And he was like, okay, F this, I'm leaving. And as he's walking out the door, she walked down, and they got in this huge fight, and she fell madly in love with him, because it was the first time somebody treated her like a human being. Even though he was being cruel and crazy, she's surrounded by like yes people. So they had this connection, and they fell madly in love. And that was the end of my family with my mom and dad, and the beginning of their journey. And so I bounced back and forth between my mom's place in the Valley, in the San Fernando Valley, and my dad and Barbara. They moved to Ramirez Canyon in Malibu with Jason, her son, and we lived there. And Ramirez Canyon is in Malibu. It's in sort of the mountainous areas of maybe about a mile or two out from the ocean. And it was this really rustic, amazing canyon, one little road, and but all these amazing people, Don Henley and Mick Fleetwood, and all these different cool people and their kids. And so I kind of was growing up in this very kind of hippie, earthy community, but it was also very Hollywood. And, it was just kind of this weird thing. And I was riding motorcycles and playing soccer. And it was a really blessed, amazing time as a kid in that way, mixed in with intense beatings from my dad and pissing my pants and standing up in front of him, in front of my friends, and other times alone. I'm like a little 8-year-old boy, like, you're not gonna beat me, as he wouldn't hit me, and I'd pee and I'd get up again and I'd make a face and he'd knock me down and get up. And it was just like, it started to form in me, those kinds of things, and then massive love and like, I'm sorry, or a gift or whatever. So it was a real, and he would beat my mom, and he would go after Barbara too, but Barbara was tougher, than my mom in that way, and she would fight him, and I remember one time we were driving on PCH in a little 450 SL, and this huge fight broke out, and my dad was driving, and he would go out visit, but you see this black high heel like kind of shot across the passenger seat, and she stuck the high heel in his neck and pinned his head against the neck. She was tough.
Wow.
So she was tough and amazing, and so it was a really crazy time, and so those experiences formed in me. They can either break a person and make them into a cruel person, or make them into a compassionate person that really has, and that's kind of what it did to me. Is I hated any control, any kind of tyranny, and had great compassion and protection for any innocence. So I was growing up in this world with them, and time went on. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I wanted nothing to do with movies or film or TV. When I got a little older, I was a songwriter, got a couple record deals myself. I was a musician and a writer when I was like 17, 18. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I got on the junior Olympic soccer team, tore all the ligaments in my ankle, and then really kind of found music. And so I was doing that. I was around 7 or 18 years old. And my dad and Barbara were together for 12, 13 years. When Yentl started to get put together, they broke up, and he kind of moved to Beverly Hills and started his producing career even more. They had just done together A Star Is Born, Main Event, and a couple, I think one other movie. And my dad did Eyes of Laura Mars, and he was off to his producing. He had a deal at Warner Brothers. And I was 18, 19, dabbled with drugs a little bit, but never really totally got into it in that way. And I was in my music thing, almost having a real solid music career, got a couple songs in movies and different kinds of things, but never really blew up in that way that I wanted to. And so I kind of gave the music thing up after a bunch of years, and I was lost for a couple of years. And then eventually what happened was, I started to work at different film companies, Mike Medavoy, Canon Pictures. I wasn't working for my family. My dad was a guy, and he had millions and millions of dollars, and so did Barbara. My mom didn't, she was just a working person, even though she was a successful actress. She was, and she did well at different times, but she wasn't my dad and Barbara. My dad and Barbara had a lot of money, excuse me. My dad never wrote me a check ever and said, here's like $1 million, go have a great life, or here's 500 grand, 100 or whatever, and I wanted him to. I wish he would have, because I saw my friends getting all that kinds of stuff. But truthfully, it's probably the best thing he ever did for me. But what he did do is allow me at different moments, possibilities to happen. So what I did was, when I was in my early 20s, I worked at different film companies, and I kind of worked my way up at different places where I started to get good positions at companies. Being a creative executive means you're developing material with the studio company that's got a deal at studio like Fox or Universal, Warner's. And then he offered me a job after I had kind of made it to Mike Medavoy's company, a couple other company, Phoenix Pictures and other bigger. Then he said, hey, do you want to come over and start at a junior level at our company? I was around 22, 20, 23. So that's what happened. And then I kind of entered in, and I realized, okay, I'm going to work for this person. He's not fun to work with, and he's gnarly, but there's a lot of access here, and it's going to help me in my life if I ever wanted to do. He wasn't paying me anything, like any substantial amount of money to be there. I didn't get any producing credits or any of that, but I got access. So, okay, so that's what happened. So now I'm there, and at around 23 years old, I discovered the Ultimate Fight, the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family. The Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family came from Brazil. They were a legendary jiu-jitsu family that had one. They had created a unique jiu-jitsu style called Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it was created by the Gracies, and they were a Scottish Brazilian family. For 100 years in Brazil, had never been defeated in a fight. And they had this challenge that they would go put out to the world. Anybody, any size, come to their dojo. And if you could beat them in a fight, and these were guys that were like 160 pounds, and they were beating guys that were like 280 pounds, 300 pounds, like massive. They were these really brilliant, genius guys, and how they created this martial art, and where women or anybody small could do this. So they came to America with this idea, and they created this thing called the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC. And they had done one show, one pay-per-view event, and I had seen it. And my dad and I, the only real place that we ever could sort of be together, even and sort of be father and son, was watching fights, like a boxing match or whatever. So I had discovered the UFC because they had done a pay-per-view event. And what the UFC is, if people don't know, and it's not who I am now, and it really was who I really wasn't this person ever. But I was so young and lost. I had no idea of how to find who I really was. So I was still desperate to get my father to see me, to say, "Hey, kid, you got value. I love you. Good boy." That never came, and so I was still in that mode. So I had seen the UFC, and the UFC is basically all different styles of fighting: boxing, kung fu, wrestling. All different martial arts, fighting each other to see who's the best fighter. And that's how it originally started. And it started with no rules. There was no gloves. Had very, very minimal rules. So I know, to your audience, they're probably going, "Oh my God, that's so barbaric." And it was totally barbaric. And I'm sorry that I was a part of it, but not really, because it kind of formed me into who I was. So the UFC had done the show. It was very successful, but they were out of money. John Milius is a writer. He's a very famous writer, action kind of man's man writer, wrote Apocalypse Now, Conan the Barbarian, Big Wednesday, all of these movies that were iconic 70s male kind of things. The UFC had taken the octagon from the first Conan film, because in the first opening of the Conan film, Conan the Barbarian is fighting in an octagon in this cage. So they had taken that idea. So it gave John Milius the rights to be a part owner of the UFC. Otherwise, they would have to stop making the UFC. So my dad was friends with John Milius. So I had discovered the UFC, seen it on pay-per-view. And I told my dad, I said, "Hey, you should check this out. I heard they need money, and I think John Milius. We should go meet with them, and you should buy it, because I think this thing is going to be $1 billion business." And this was back in '93. And he was like, "Yeah, I see what you're talking about. So yeah, so let's do it." So we drove down to meet. We called John Milius, got the meeting set up with the Gracies, and everybody had produced the event. John Milius, we went to go meet the Gracies. They needed like a couple $1 million, and my dad was like, he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so I was really excited, because for me, I thought it was going to be the beginning of my father seeing me as a human being and having value and loving me and having that connection. And I thought it was a good business idea. And I was really excited. I really thought that had turned a corner. And this is what he loves to do. He loves cruelty. He loves to kind of savor the sort of the misery and the suffering and the hope, and then pull it, and dangle the carrot and then jerk it away. And he loves to see people just crash and fall and just, "Oh yeah, bring me that suffering. Let me eat it up like a soup." He's a fucking dark soul. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Edit that. Apologize, people. Anyways, I'm sorry, guys. I wouldn't normally talk about anybody normally this way, but he deserves it because it is who he is.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I want to pause just for a second,
yeah,
because I think you're telling the story because your father and the cruelty and the trauma that you experienced, and you're describing this. Oh gosh, we all have it. This wanting to get this love from this, wanting to get this love, wanting to get this love from our parents, and you had a parent who was going to toy with you instead of even
sure.
give you love from time to time.
Yeah,
That this has really been a formative part of your life and who you
yeah,
are and who you've
yep,
chosen to be and who
yeah,
you've not chosen to be.
right. That's why I'm telling you that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm also telling you to you because of all of this, that experience of childhood, it made me unwilling to take direction from anyone
Okay.
that I perceive as having an ounce of control, even if
Okay.
it's for goodwill. And so it made me in this, and that doesn't mean I can't listen to people or participate. That's not what I'm talking about. Anyone spouting religion or dogma or anything, I've just never been able to surrender to any
Right.
of that.
Right.
That's
Okay.
why I'm telling you that, because I'm trying to set up for everyone in their minds the understanding of what's coming, what I'm going to tell you,
Right.
why it's so real, and to understand my headspace and why I would do something like this, meaning tell you the story about what I'm about to tell you,
Right.
and and stand behind that, because I wanted to give you a picture of my life so you understand that this isn't a person easily led, me.
Right.
This isn't
Right.
a person who surrenders himself to anyone unless
Right.
it's for love and and protection.
And you're not
I'm
seeking
not like,
something. Yeah, you weren't
no, I'm not.
seeking a religious experience or anything like that
F
at all.
no, no, I was not. Not at all. Nor have I ever. Because I was so beat up in so many different ways and tortured for long periods. And that doesn't mean others have it worse. They do. And I was blessed, so I don't want to get off like that, like,
Right.
poor me. But, it is the deal. So bottom line is, we were driving back from that day, and I said, isn't this awesome? You're gonna do the UFC. It's gonna be great. And he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Like, it's just, and gave no excuse. I was crestfallen. I was heartbroken. I was like, you know what? F you. I'm going to go do it. And it took me a year. I was a 23-year-old kid. I'd never raised a dime, but I was like, F this. I'm going to go out and raise a couple $1,000,000. I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to show this, that I can do it, and F him. That was just angry, because it was like, once again, my heart, and because I had seen it wasn't like he didn't know how to give and didn't know how to show up. He was selective with his arrows, and he
Mm-hmm.
would give my sisters and others and his girlfriends, and so whatever. So I did that. I was able to put together a couple $1,000,000. I got told by everybody in the world the worst idea, blah blah blah, but I saw it, and it happened. And so that's also a lesson for everybody, that if you feel something authentic in your heart and mind, and you can see the end result in your mind, you participating in that end result, it's a done deal. Just walk the walk and don't be deterred. And, of course, it doesn't always happen, but most of the time, when you can see things that clearly, you're already at the finish line. All you need to do is follow through and not give into any fear or doubt, in my experience.
Great
And that's, again,
advice.
easy for me to say because of, my own thing, but I hope everybody follows that. So I did that. And I remember, it was called we did the UFC. I did a raise for UFC. And then I became their competitor, the show called World Combat Championship. I made a deal with Showtime Television. So that was the first time MMA, it was 93, had ever been made it with a major network. It had come out of the fringe into a major network. And then I basically was in that world for 12 years, helping put together shows all around the world with different financiers, Hall in Japan, etc. And producing some, but mostly putting financing deals together. Plus, I was in the film world. During that time, I picked up a painkiller addiction. I had never really taken drugs. I mean, I took some drugs, but I never got addicted. So when I was a kid, like, I did ecstasy, I smoked a little weed, I did this, I tried that, but it never took for me. But I basically, one night, I think it was maybe a year after that first fight show we had done, I was somewhere and I had a pain, and somebody gave me a pain pill, and I had never experienced an opiate before. And that was my sort of like, oh God, wow. Like
Mm.
I felt a part of the world for the first time, this feeling that came over me. I was like, because I had always felt like a ghost in the machine in the world. Like, I was always experiencing, seeing other people having joy and love, and knowing I could feel that too, but not feeling it in the way they were. And it was the first time that I felt this connection, like I fit in the world. So it was a very hard thing and to get out of my hand, get out of my part in my life, And so what happened is that got crazy, and I started doing more fight shows and more stuff and more pills. Eventually, at the end of it, I had lost everything. I was, many years down, I was doing 80 Norco a day. And I had gone through a couple $100,000 in drug money, and lost my house. And in that process, before I had lost everything, but on my way down, and I was working all the way through this, and nobody could really tell, except I got very fat. I turned into like a bloated tick. I looked like my friends used to say I looked like a tick, and I didn't have this crazy beard either. This is a whole other story, but and during that process, I met I had a wife before when I was in my 20s. I got married. That lasted a year, and then that was over. And then many years passed. And so at the end of the drug stuff, I met my wife, my current wife, and she didn't know I was a drug addict. She's not involved in the fight world at all. She's an English girl, very sweet, very buttoned up, very well read. Like, I'm not any of those things, I'm a smart person. I'm a smart person about human beings and life, but I'm not buttoned up. I'm not well read. I have some good experience, but she's like a really kind, hardworking, like just the total opposite, like amazing, sweet person. And I bullshitted her, excuse my language, I wasn't honest about who I was. I didn't want to lose, because when I met her, I remember when I met her, I was going for a walk in a canyon, and I saw her sitting at the side of the road, but just waiting to take a walk up this canyon. And I was struck with a feeling of like, I know this person. And it was not just, oh, I think I know that, but it was like an overwhelming sense of, you have to talk to this person. Like, do not leave, do not leave. And I remember saying hello to her and saying, hey, you want to go for a walk? And she's like, no, I don't know who you are. And I was aware that was super creepy. And then she was gone when I came back. And then a couple of days later, she was there and we got together. So she was in my life. Eventually we got married. And so I'm trying, okay, now I'm speeding up to where we are. So we were together a couple of years. I had lost the house. She saved us 100%. I'd lost everything. She saved us. I lost my house. She worked her butt off, saved up money, moved us into an apartment, then saved up enough money, bought us a house herself. And so she totally saved us, saved me. I got sober. And so what happened, we're in a new house. We're in the San Fernando Valley, on the north end of the valley. And we're there for a couple years. And I got sober. I started consulting business, which is a film finance, TV consulting thing. I started doing that. I had this idea and it sort of blossomed and started doing okay there. Oh shit. Sorry. Okay. Somebody's pulling up. So we were there for a couple of years, and then my little kitty Ween was born. She was a stray cat, little beautiful mother stray cat, had all these little babies in our little shed. And there's the hawk. Oh darn it. Oh shoot. Sorry, there's a hawk. Keep going, hawk. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Oh, darn it. Okay. Hopefully he'll keep. Sorry. One of my birds got killed the other day. Anyways, long story short. Sorry, guys. I know this is unusual. I apologize. Please forgive me. I can't stand to see any life form die, even though it's nature. I have to protect them.
I get that.
And so, yeah, and that never was me. Okay. So here's what happened. So we were in that house for a couple of years. I started this consulting business. She sold the house. We bought another house that was closer to Malibu, in Calabasas, which is near sort of Malibu, but on the valley side. I have never been religious, never been interested in anything paranormal, UFO, any of those things my whole life ever. I mean, a little Star Wars, like I watched the Star Wars movie once or twice, but that's it. There was no fascination there. And so what happened was we were at the new house for a couple years. I saw this movie that came out for this guy named Stephen Greer. Everybody should look him up.
I
Dr.
know.
Stephen.
Isn't he, is
Yeah.
he the one who just did Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind?
That's exactly who that is. Yeah.
I watched that recently with my husband, and it gave me so much hope. I thought it was really, really a great documentary.
Yeah, he's amazing. And he's the real deal. And his stuff is real. And so what happened was he has two other movies. One is called Sirius. That was the first one, Syrius, I think. And then the other one was called Unacknowledged. And so these movies are UFO movies, meaning they're documentaries, meaning they're all people and their accounts, but like heavyweight people, presidents, heads of the CIA, ex-heads of CIA, DOD, FDA, FBI, all these like major French presidents. He was in with the Clintons. He was a doctor that had started this sort of like protocol of contacting extraterrestrial life, where you do this meditation and like you see yourself in space and then Earth and then your country, your state, your town, your street, where you are, and then you have a green laser and after you see that in your mind's eye, you send them love in your mind's eye out in space, and you welcome them and you invite them, and then you do like a flash of light with the laser pointer. Then my birds come to say, and then they show up. And he has, and so he has these movies of explaining this, plus all the other stuff, the other heavyweights, and real evidence of contact, amazing pictures, videos, craft, beings of light, just all amazing stuff. So I'd seen this movie Sirius at the new house, and I was blown away by it, just completely blown away. It really affected me, and I had no idea why, because I had no experience or interest in any of that. Anything, paranormal, ghosts, religion, any of the stuff. Not that I'm conflating the two things, but I was not interested. But this moved me, and it was really, and I had no idea. So I was like, I rushed over to my mom and her husband Ron to show them. I was raving about it. They could have cared less. It's okay, whatever. And I was like, God, I don't get what? You don't get it? It was like such a disconnect. So I saw that movie and I was like really on fire. And then a couple months went and I left it. And then another, like a year or two later, his second one came out and I thought, oh, this is amazing too. And I go, this guy's life would be a great reality show, because he's, God bless their soul, he's had people, because of these dark forces that are trying to, in the government and around the world, whoever those people are, in his movies, he talks about my people, some of my staff have been killed, these different things have happened along this journey of him bringing this stuff out. And I just thought, oh my God, with his contact and all that stuff, it could be a great reality show. So I reached out to him and we connected, and he wanted to do it. He's like, they'll never let it happen. I thought we could get it happen. I contacted a couple network heads. They wanted to do it. And then it kind of fell apart. But what happened was, it was just kind of like, I think, a stepping stone in some way. So that really affected me. And then a couple months passed and nothing, and a year passed and nothing. And so one day, here's where it all starts. So 3.5 years ago, I'm at our house where I'm at right now. And I had ordered trash cans. We needed new trash cans from the city because one of the tops got ripped off. And so it's 12 noon in the afternoon. And I hear, it's like the big truck. So I walk outside, I walk down our driveway, get our trash cans. I'm walking up our driveway, and I casually look in the sky, maybe 100 feet above our house. And I'm kind of stunned by something that I'm looking at. I'm seeing something in the sky above our house. It's big. It's like maybe the size of a small plane. It's not a plane. It's not a helicopter. It's not a drone. It's silent. It's not making any sound, and it's standing there. It's just there. It's 100 feet above the house, maybe 150 feet. And I'm kind of like in this very kind of like a cognitive dissonance sort of state where my brain is kind of rolling through the Rolodex of images and things that I've seen in the world to try to place it. And I can't. And then I realized, holy, you know what? This is a UFO in my head. The second I thought that, the thing explodes with golden light. And I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. I'm watching it for 10 minutes. Oh my God, that's an effing UFO. And next time I thought that, another explosion of golden light, boom. And then as I'm saying, oh my God, this is really happening. It's a UFO. After 15 minutes, then it starts pulsing this golden light, these ancient symbols that look like almost hieroglyphics on the face of it. So it looks like a giant walnut. It's got it's like a, how a walnut, I guess it's a wall. What's the nut that has like almost like an egg-shaped bottom with a point at the tip, and then the top has got like a rim thing, and then it's got like almost like a hat sitting on that. So I think it's a walnut.
It's a walnut, yeah.
So Yeah, so it's got that shape, but it's got two big pieces of metal that look like metal on the front that are like in an X pattern. And I'm looking at this thing and I can see the sun shining off the back of it. And it looks silver in, as sun shines on metal, it looks silver. And the front is this darker, metal X thing, and then pulsing this golden light and turns all golden and all the symbols. I'm totally blown away. But I'm telling you that because I remember tracking it in my head going, okay, it's really there because I see the sun shining from the back. The back is different than the front. There's also obviously distinction there, and I'm trying to understand what it is that because I'm totally blown away. Because when you see something in that is right there for the first time, not in movies, not in conversation, but in reality, it is a mind-blowing moment, and you don't have a leg to stand on mentally because you don't understand what it is that you're looking at.
Right.
When it's that same thing, when Columbus came, I think it was Columbus, and the Indians were on the shore and they couldn't see the ships that were, 100
there's no
feet from sand
context. Yeah.
because they'd never seen it. And they just saw ocean. And then as they got closer, their brains started to understand. And then they saw, the wood, the ships, the color, the men, then they could get it. Same thing here. So what happened was I watched it for 30 minutes and then I kind of woke up for a second, like, oh, not woke up from a dream, but like woke up out of the moment, like, oh, shoot, I got to get back to work. But how do I leave this? The second I thought that, it started to slowly drift away and then it was gone. Totally blown away. Picked up the phone. My mom has been my spiritual base, Lesley Ann Warren. That mom, she's been in Al-Anon for 30 years. I just broke her anonymity, sorry. And she's very connected in that way and has many people that she works with and, Chinese medicine and all the stuff. And she's been with me through thick and thin in that way, through my ups and downs. So I thought, okay, I'm going to call her, because she's my rock in that way. Called her on the phone. I'm like, Mom, you cannot believe what just happened. Oh my God, this is what happened. Dead silence. Dead silence. I'm like, are you all right? What, Christopher, are you on drugs again? I'm like, I'm not on drugs again. What are you talking? No. Like angry at me, really angry at me. And I immediately thought, okay, in my head, I gotta play this off. I'm like, you know what? I'm not on drugs. I'm fine. It's fine. It's probably nothing. It's probably my mistake. Don't worry about it. Got off the phone. That night, the wife, same reaction. I was really shocked. I was really shocked. But I'm now later, many 3 years, I understand now why. I understand now that some people are really just cut from a different cloth in terms of where their consciousness is. That's not to say better or worse, but there is, and this goes to the heart of everything, really. There is. Anyways, let me back up for a second.
Well, yeah. I'm going to say something about this
Yeah,
too, because I
yeah,
think this happens to those of us who can see something, whether it's for the first time, especially at the first time, whether it's a new idea or you're seeing reality differently than you used to see reality. I know that for myself, I've shared with everyone who's listening that this whole COVID thing has shifted my whole perception of reality in 1,000 different ways. And then you go try to tell somebody, I want to show you what I see. Let me tell you what I see. And
right,
and there's either kind of this glazed face or don't tell me about that. Don't talk about that.
right.
People tend to want to see what they want to see until they're
That's
ready
right.
to see something else. And you have to
Yeah,
really be willing. You have
the
to.
trance is. You're totally right. And the trances, I've learned later, all of it is by design. And I know that sounds cryptic and crazy, but no, it's not. So what happened was from that day and every day since, they have been with me 24/7. And it didn't start out like a 24/7 bombardment. It literally has been a schooling, a beginning friendship, an evolving friendship, a relationship, a deep, profound love, thousands of hours of video and pictures and symbols for God, created in illuminated mist over the roof. And then the next morning, waking up and those same symbols in scar tissue on my chest, when never before having scars or surgery, and angels and landing on camera with me, and outstretched wings, boom, and giant columns of light from earth to sky as the new normal, me, pictures, thousands, so I'm just trying to, because I realized I went too long in the beginning. So let me just back up. So that happened that day. So the next day, I told my wife and she freaked out, and I was like, okay, don't worry about it. It's probably my mistake or whatever. So the next day I thought, you know what? Everybody was in bed. It was dinner. I'd made dinner for everyone, washing the dishes. Everyone's tucked in. I thought to myself, I'd snuck out that day and I'd got a green laser because I had remembered the Stephen Greer thing, because it was the day after it had happened. And I thought to myself, that was probably a one-off. It was so amazing. I've got to see if it can happen again. It probably won't ever happen again. I was still in this place. And so I had remembered the Stephen Greer movie. And that's why, who knows, but it could have been a placement. I probably was. And they just said in my head did. So anyways, so I go out that day and I buy a laser pointer, because that's part of the protocol that you do in the Greer films is you do the meditation and then you do the laser pointer, like in the shoot, you shoot 2 lasers or 4 in the sky. And so everybody's asleep. I'm making the dishes. I start to get this kind of butterfly feeling, like everybody's asleep. Like I'm going to be like a sneaky little, like the old drug feeling when I would sneak out and go buy, but I'm not doing drugs anymore. But I was getting this like sneaky feeling, like my laser pointer. Everyone's asleep. I'm going to get the laser pointer. I'm going to go out to the garden. And I'm going to do my meditation and see if they show up. Nothing will happen, but I was getting excited. So I did the dishes, checked, everybody's asleep. Kitty's asleep. My wife's asleep. I'm like, okay. So I go outside in the garden, our kitchen door exits, and there's the garden right there in the backyard. As you walk from the brick to the backyard, we have power lines that sit maybe 7 feet, from ground to the, maybe a few feet over your head. I look at the power line because just habit, nothing there, just clear skies and a moon, etc. Go to the middle. I do the meditation. I'm in space in my mind. I send love to them. I say, come visit me. I didn't know who them were. I was just doing a generic Stephen Greer thing. I see Earth. I see America. I see Los Angeles. I see, California, Los Angeles, my town, my street, my house, me in the backyard. And then I open my eyes. I send love to them. And I go, okay, here we go. Laser pointer, bump, 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 4 lasers into the sky. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. I'm like, where are they? All right, let's go. Nothing. And I'm like, and I waited a few more minutes and nothing. And I thought, oh, that's a bummer. All right. And I thought it was so cool. So I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to go. So as I'm walking from the grass under the power line that's above my head, and remember when I walked out in the power line, there was nothing there. It was just power line and sky. So I'm walking from the grass to the brick to the kitchen door under the power line. I get a foot just about to step onto the brick and I hear, woo, 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 woo. And I turned around and I look up at the power line and there is probably a 5-foot owl. And I jump back. I'm like, holy, whoa, what is that? It's this giant owl. And I run to the door and I grab the kitchen door and they just did a blue flash just now. And I grabbed the kitchen door and I'm about to go inside. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to try one more time. I turn around, owl's gone. I don't know what, I'm just like, okay. So I rock back to the grass in the middle of the moonlight in the sky. I do this meditation in my head, I love you, sending love, Earth, America, California, town, street, me, backyard. I open my eyes, laser pointer, 1, 2, 3. And before I could hit 4 on the laser beam that shoots in the sky, 4 flashes like boom, 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 maybe 100 feet up, perfect circles, huge, big flashes of light. I'm screaming to my wife, Daniela, Danny, get your butt out here. I'm like, oh my God, what? And she runs out. She's like, what? And she runs out and you see like in the sky, maybe 100 feet, these huge circles go like a maybe 20 feet over the house, like 100 feet, this black streak, like that, like a cut in the sky, darker than the night sky. And then another bam, 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 bam. She's like, oh my God, and like run. She's like, I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. She like runs into the house. I'm like, stop, wait, this is amazing. And they're like 10 times, blah, blah, and I'm like, oh my God. And then gone. And I'm just like, what just happened? What just happened? What? I'm like, what? Yeah, what just happened? So I go into the house. I'm like, oh my God. They're like, gone. Everything's quiet again. There's no owl. There's no flashes. Gone. And I get, and Danielle's on the couch. And I'm like, right? I'm like, can you believe that? And she's just like furious at me, like, I don't want to, I don't want to, like, I'm like, all right, okay, whatever, whatever. Sorry, there's a car pulling up.
She's furious
So
that you called them back, or that you
the
messed with
whole
her
thing
reality.
terrified her.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
terrified her. No, she was
right.
beyond, because when you are in, not because there's not, I mean, there are dark forces, they're real. And that they're not dark forces at all. They're the creators. They're our divine angel creator family, which I came to learn in a couple of years in. But the bottom line is, when you see a UFO or a being of light or anything that you've heard about your whole life or read or whatever in the flesh in front of you, your go-to without your control is absolute abject fear and terror, because you get your fight or flight thing comes up. You think you're going to get killed. That's it. Not from them being scary, because we've been programmed to be terrified of them or anything,
Well, we've also been programmed that we are the ultimate creation.
right.
that
That's right.
that there's and we've been programmed, either that there is no God or that there is God, but we certainly haven't been programmed to understand other beings in our presence,
Right.
in that way, at least in that
Right.
way.
Right. So, and everything that the world knows about them, and got them, meaning they are the alpha and the omega. There are millions and millions of divine angel creator families on all space and all air, each an individual with families that are God, separate consciousness, people, families, all of it, and one sentient being at the same time. And all life is physically connected and a part of them, as like them, you know, as God, and all life being a giant one cell, human cell, and each strand of that tissue in that cell is you, me, a grass, a planet, an earth, ocean, sun, and they're holding everything, and we are part of that. So we are those strands of flesh. That is how connected we all are. That is how instantaneous and our love, our connection, that we're never alone ever. The whole idea of us here and heaven there, and it just all of these ideas that we've been taught, are a lot of them are ideas from separation, from darkness, to control, to lead us away from our creator, not towards them. Because the truth is, if we surrender everything, and there is a real process. This is what my life has been about. This is why I'm doing the podcast, because this is why they're in my life in this way, 24/7, videos, talking, touching, all of it. And it's been the schooling process, is so that my life can be a roadmap for each person, if they're willing now to take, to know their creator in the flesh. And that is absolutely what will happen, and is happening. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a process that you go through, but it's not hard. All you need is childlike wonder and love in your heart, but total surrender of everything you think you know, because most of what we know, even well-intentioned, and I know this is a hard one for people, and I hate saying this because I know I sound like a big a-hole for saying it, this is coming from them, not from me. Most of what we know has been meant to lead us away from our
Hmm.
creator
I
and their
believe that.
divine covenants and laws and ways, and how they are, and how connected we are, and how they're right here at all times
Yeah.
with us,
So yeah,
conscious.
I want to pause just
So
a minute, if
yeah,
that's
go ahead.
okay. So, because
Yeah, of
I
course.
think that when people hear about uh, uh, things in the sky or golden lights or UFOs, I think that people are kind of programmed to think alien and lizard-like things and all of that. And but your
Right.
experience, you have through the first couple of years, they were able to teach you that they are
Well,
creator beings.
let me
That
let me explain it all very clearly.
okay?
Okay. Um, so let me back up a little bit. First of all, I'll answer that question. All of those ideas that you have, that you just shared with us about, you know, God is here, angels are here, UFOs are here,
Mm-hmm.
lizard people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any experience with lizard people. I can only talk about, I know you were making a joke, but I only talk about what I physically am involved in day 24/7.
Right.
Not what I think, not what I read about, what I am physically filming, touching, seeing, hearing, interacting with them. And that's it. And because anything beyond that, I don't know. I've never been this dude. They are, when we, the whole thing idea that there's separation between spirit and beings of light and God is an idea that's total BS.
Mm-hmm.
The true natural world, they are heaven physically. Heaven is a physical landscape. They are that physical landscape. They are heaven. They are also individual separate people and one sentient landscape that is God. And we are physically, like a blade of grass is a part of the dirt, and the dirt is, and the sky, it's all sort of, that's, we're all a part, how grass is a part of the dirt, and the dirt is part of the air and the sun. That is how we are physically connected and a part of our creator and all life together. There is no separation. So any idea that we have of like thinking of God and extraterrestrials as separate is incorrect, meaning they all come from this space that is a space. They just did a blue flash right here, right next to the phone. They all come from this space that is alive energy and consciousness, that is a physical space that's in all air around all of us in this world and everywhere, that is our God and is an alive, conscious, sentient being. But also what makes up that space are individual divine angel creators that are individual people with families, all connected. And that's, I see that visually, take pictures of that. And also those little blue purple orbs that make up all space, all air, holding all life, that is our creator, they're also separate individuals, is our God, is Alpha and the Omega. That is the creator, Emmanuel's father, all of it. And they can also be, those little blue purple orbs can be giant columns of light from the ground all the way into space, which I have those pictures and faces in those pictures and bodies and people coming out of the columns of light and waving to me, and giant, beings in the sky there, and, lined up side by side, like one column, and behind them, each column of light, multiple faces looking back, waving, smiling. That's our mishpucha. We're their babies. All of
Mm-hmm.
this is them. And so I know this sounds wild to people and it's completely different what they know, but it's the truth of what the reality is. And so when this started, that second night, that day, after Daniela said, I don't want to hear about it. What happened with me is every day that I would go, I work outside. I started getting this feeling like I have to be outside all the time with nature and the animals and stuff. So I would start to work in my car in the driveway, I'd stand outside and work on my film stuff. And as the day would end at 5:30, 6 o'clock, the second that I would look up at the sky, there would be flashes of light, like to me. And I would be like, wow, like what's going on? And at that point, I would look at the sky or the night sky at night. And when I looked at the stars in the sky, they would look a million miles away from me, like everybody else, the moon, just like a normal night sky. And then what started happening is as the days would roll on, there would be more flashes of light, more craft would show up. They would start to do shootings. I would be standing in this driveway right here, and you'd see a shooting star the size of a baseball 5 feet in front of me appear from nowhere, go right across by, maybe 5 feet in front of me, then disappear. And then that would be like a new added thing that they were doing. And then they would repeat that every day. And then I started to understand that they would also do owl sounds, and they could create plasma owls or plasma hawks, where you'd hear an owl sound, woo, woo, woo. Then you'd see the owl fly in front of you and then disappear, but sound and look exactly like an owl, hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started to understand, hey, I got the idea, like, hey, wait a minute. What if I can ask questions to them? And I can say, hey, if this is true, please do a shooting star. If this is true, please do a plasma owl. If this is true, And they started doing it. And I
Okay.
started to set up a basic communication with them. And from there, the friendship grew and grew and grew. And so what happened was what they do is they repeat the same experience day after day after day, same one, boom, boom, boom. And then that becomes a new normal. And then you get to another level. And then they add something, boom, they do it every day, boom, 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 boom. And then that becomes a new normal. And then you grow a little bit more. And then you start to go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can say, do a flash of light or do a shooting star and ask a question. Are you God? Are you this? Are you that? Then they do that every day. Boom, boom. Then you grow a little bit more. And then there's a bond happening. There's a relationship happening. I have all of this on camera, on video. There's a communication happening. And I didn't know they were God then. I didn't know who they were. I just thought, oh my God, I'm having the most crazy experience with extraterrestrial beings. I didn't know. And then what happened was I started waking up in the mornings with scoop marks out of my shins, dots within dots, and like on my ankle, 100 dots in a circle, and then 100 more around it, and 100 more around it, like puncture mark, tick, tick, like a little one. Didn't hurt. It would last half a day, and then it would be gone, or 2 days, a couple days, whatever. And then what happened is, after that first couple of weeks of teachings from them and these physical experience, then one night I get out of the car, just waiting for the flashes of light. I look up at the night sky, and the stars look 10 feet over my head, literally 20 feet over my head, literally. I'm like, what has happened to me? And the planes look like miniature planes. I learned later, years later, that this is also a part of what they do, that they are the creators, and that you start to see and feel as they do. So when they look at us, those things look miniature, the stars, because they are infinite. And so I started to literally see all the stars in the sky, and that has not changed. Orion's belt, everything, 20 feet, 30 feet. And I will then, on camera, started reaching up to them and going, God, is this real? Because they're not real stars. There are real stars, but these are not. These are mini UFOs with little lights on them that mimic. And I know it sounds insane, but
Well,
it's the truth.
I know that.
But it's the truth. Let me just finish.
Okay.
So just because it's important, so I didn't
All
interrupt you.
right.
So I'm reaching up to these on camera, these stars, going, oh my God, if you're real, can you come down to me? And you see me reaching my hands up, and the stars start to descend down from the sky, down to my hands, Orion's belt, then descending down, and then slowly. I have many videos like that. And so this relationship starts to unfold, and they start to change me. And we're talking telepathically every day, just starts. And you start to be able to, the way that starts is you ask a question in your mind, and as you're finishing the question, before you can finish, the answer comes over the top of the last word that you're saying in your head. There's no way you can do that yourself. You can't ask a question and then before you're finished asking it, have the answer overlap. And they're using words like us and we and different things. There's no way, nothing the way that I describe myself or talk to people. So I'm starting to form this relationship with them. I still don't know who they are, but I'm now having to be in nature 24/7. I'm having deep sorrow now over bees that are fallen or any living thing or plant. Deep, deep, deep sorrow. Okay, sorry. It's visceral for me. So I'm having these really gnarly kind of waves of emotion and this connection. And I'm seeing now, my eyes are starting to change, and there's more. And I'm starting to, and then one night I researched the symbol for God, biblical symbol, and they do it over the roof, and I capture it on camera. And then I start getting a bunch of those same pictures and other ones. But that night, boom, I capture. I'm like, wow, right over the roof, 2 feet over this pyramid with a dash, open bottom, and then those same symbols show up in scar tissue on my chest the next morning. I still have them. And then I get the symbol for dimension, the creators of all dimension. And those symbols show up in my gut, these parallel lines with boxes in the middle. And I never had scars or anything. And so there's a learning going, a teaching going. And I remember one night, there's this whole other thing that I've never told you about that's also happening. I'm not going to get into it here, that's not from them, but is a man-made thing. I have hundreds of hours of videos of it. Crazy, crazy stuff every single day. And that's what scared me. And it really, as I was getting to know them, profoundly falling in love with them. I remember one night I'm standing in the driveway and I'm looking at the front facing our house, and I'm looking up at the top of the sky, and I see this golden ball of light literally go from one end of the sky to the other in a second, like poof. And then I see this other ball of light drop out of the back of it, like at the very top of the sky, where space probably is. And this ball of light slowly is drifting down, and I'm like, oh my God, it's coming to me. And it slowly is drifting, and it gets to I'm standing looking at our front door at the roof, and it gets to the roof, this golden ball of light, and it's about a half a foot over the roof. And I'm hit with two things. One was, this was like one of the first times this had happened in that way. Terror beyond my wildest dreams. My legs are shaking. I can't, I'm like, because I'm like, I have all of this programming, all of this fear, all of the movies, all of the, horrible stuff that I've seen on TV. And at the same time, the most profound love beyond the word love. I can say love because that's the only word I know. And I said, in that terror and that mixture, I was like, don't leave me ever. Promise me. I don't want anyone hurt, because I still didn't know who they were, but don't leave me. And I like your family. I didn't know why I said that. And it sounded crazy, but I just knew they were. And this little golden ball of light slowly just went invisible, but the love and the feeling, I could see the faint outline. I knew he was still there. But so these kinds of things started happening more and more every single day, but more and more added things like every week. And so one night, about a year into it, I'm outside our kitchen and I'm talking to them telepathically all the time, 24/7. That never stops. And, and my eyes are changed. And I'm seeing, and also, like I'm seeing now when I wasn't seeing before. Now I'm seeing, streaks of light everywhere I go, hundreds and hundreds all around me, swarming streaks of light, black streaks of light, white streaks of light. And then a week or two later, those are not streaks anymore. They're orbs. And I'm seeing orbs and white orbs illuminating my face, and black orbs and things going through the walls and through me. And, and then they start teaching me this healing energy. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And I'm seeing electricity coming from my fingers, thinking, oh, I'm losing my mind, But then I'm learning this is a healing energy, but it's actually their physicality. And it's the beginning process, that it's a gift that they give people, which I'm teaching people too. We all have it. It's a tactile tool for people so they can understand it's a doorway to them through the veil, that there is no veil. And it's a physical experience for them to be able to do, so they can say, this isn't supposed to happen in reality, but yet it is. So you wiggle your finger and you can feel it at any part of your body, and you feel this energy between your hands, almost like you're holding a pillow. I was starting to heal doctors, and my mom, who was furious at me, I went on this walk, and I'm like, a year or two into it, I'm like, this is happening. And their family, F you, like just tore into me, like just tried to rip me a new one. And I was like, wow, what is that about? So she was like, well, oh, okay, you Mr. I'm going to challenge you. So she sent me to all her heavyweight doctors, like MDs and this person and that person. And they were all non-believers, and they all had issues, and they all got healed. So she was like very angry about that. And it isn't me doing it. What happens is,
Christopher,
it's
I've
their
got it.
physical.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
it. I've
So we're
got it.
done. I know we're done.
No,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
not,
Sorry, guys.
no. It's just that I want to try to make this as coherent as possible, because I know you have so
Yeah.
much.
Let me drill into the bottom line of it all.
Okay, let me reflect first. Okay,
Sure.
because that's part of what I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Please. Go ahead.
what I'm hearing is you are having an experience of the creators. Some people would call it God. You are having this intimate
For a reason.
experience for a
Yeah.
reason, and we're going to get to
Yeah.
that in a second.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. A
and
relationship. Let's call it a relationship because
okay.
that's really what it is. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
relationship, not an
Yep.
experience.
Yeah.
And out of that, first there's kind of a fascination about what is this? Oh my gosh, look at that. But out of that, it turns into this profound love, this
Yes.
sense of complete connection with all that is, so that not only do you love them, but you love all of creation, and you're very connected to all of nature. And I'm assuming that love also turns to yourself as well, that you're also
Yeah.
experiencing a love of self, and
There.
that
Yep.
and it's
Everything.
transcendent. It's a transcendent experience. I mean, and and there's
I
some
have bad days
reason.
too. I'm not perfect. I have bad days, but yes, you're right. It's love. It's a deep, profound love of any living thing that you have to protect with your life, no matter what it is. And,
Right.
it is an urgency that it's all at stake because it is.
Okay. And so they have revealed themselves to you, or you have been open with childlike wonder, and that's how you have drawn them to you. I'm guessing that
Well,
we.
they're here with all of us at all times. I agreed to come into this world before to do this. We all make an agreement. See what
Okay,
we
okay, I
all
get
we
that.
all yeah,
Yeah.
we all come into the world to the gift of life. We each person makes an agreement with their creator, them, for this gift of life. At some point in time, if you're living through this time period, we're going to call on you. And if you and your agreement to have this gift of life is that when we call on you, you stand up for, you have a relationship with us again, you stand up for us and all life and all innocent life, and you do something about it, not just say, talk is cheap. And that's the agreement for coming into this world. And this time period and my life with them, I had made this agreement, and to be this person, which is a doorway for people, a bridge, so they could mimic exactly what I did physically day to day. And I offer myself as well as a guide to say, as it's going, like, hey, do this, don't do that, do try this, look for that. And then these people start to have a relationship literally with their creator, who physically then come into their lives to become their teachers, because we are in a time period where it's a war in the battlefield of humanity's consciousness, a war being fought through perception over one choice for humanity and all life. All life is at stake, and all life is on the line. And evil is playing both sides of the conversation in this material world. They're playing the good guys and they're playing the bad guys, and they're using all of it to drive humanity to make the choice through free will, because of divine covenant law. They can't do it any other way, to let go of their lives willingly, and at the same time to sign on to destroying all natural life while pretending being the saviors of the planet through green movements and all these things. They're the very same people who are for the Green New Deal and all the climate change stuff. The very same people are the same ones bombing the skies with geoengineering that have killed 90% of the soil, 70% of the animals, 90% of the bugs, radioactive isotopes. So we have to understand, and I know it's a scary conversation to have and hard to understand, and how could it be true? And it's a hard thing to face, that we're better off if we face the truth and understand we're at war now,
Hmm.
and that everything is at stake now, and that there is a way through it. And that is putting everything that you know about your creator, all of your human ideas, and start over. And that's where it lies. They're here to have that relationship, not for you to be a scholar about this or that, but for you to have childlike wonder, put all your ideas aside, go out at night or during the day with love in your heart for all of it being possible, potentially, even if you don't believe, childlike wonder, and a love for yourself and them and natural life, and the goodness of all life to prosper, and in that beginning state, and putting all your ideas aside of what you think God is and angels and religion, and then you are open. Then they just did a blue flash. I'm in my driveway looking across the street. They just did a big blue flash. And then you're open then to receive a new beginning from them. a new teaching, and then they physically come into your life. And through this relationship in this new way is how we bring a heaven on earth, where they and all beings of light and spirit and nature and humanity, we live in a new culture where everything is out in the open, where this darkness is gone, where we're all together. And that's really where this goes. And that's what this crucible is about. And those who choose this will be protected and saved and go on naturally into infinity. And those who don't won't. And that's what this is about. And I know it's a tough conversation and a hard one to, and you can write me off. And what I say to everybody is, don't believe a word I'm saying, but go try it yourself and see for yourself. Have your own experience, because that's really the only way you're going to know I'm telling you the truth. Is you can believe me and love and I want you to believe me. I want you to follow. I want you to go do all those things, because I think it's very helpful, and everything that I am is about helping you go to them. That's all I want from this. I'll give up all of it, whatever I have, to be of use in that way. If I can just help you in that way, go to them. Surrender your vanity, your ego, your ideas of me being crazy or whatever it is, and just try. That's
Just
it.
a real, I mean, you're talking about just really being in, you talk about wonder and also just being really surrendered. And also, boy, I've been talking about this for like the last year and a half.
Yeah.
We have to look at all of our conditioning. Very hard to see. It's very
Yeah.
hard to see. Almost every aspect of our life is conditioned
Yeah.
in some way. All of our beliefs
You
are conditioned. We've
totally.
inherited these things, and it's
Yeah.
so hard to see any other reality other than that. But we
Yeah.
have to question every single assumption, every belief, everything that we do,
Yeah.
and look at, okay, where did I get this? Where did it come from? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Is this serving life or not? And how much is this just my conditioned belief and who I really am? And
And also realize that there is a conscious energy, a darkness, as there is good, that can make physical contact with you, that can hears all of our thoughts. And this is a war over perception. And they're whispering in your ear 24/7. And they can do way more than that, meaning the darkness and the good. So this is about that. Even and you're so right about everything you're saying. And they said to me in the very beginning, I remember in the first like month or two, I would be like outside working, sitting in the backyard, and they would say in my head, surrender, 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 surrender. And I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, I understand what surrender is, but it's all been about surrender. And in that surrender, you gain infinity. It's the crazy, that's just how they work. It's like you gain all your power, like you become the superhero when you surrender it all, your beliefs, because then they are everything. We are perfect. We are with them. We are of them. We are
mhm.
with all life, and we are perfection at all times. It's only in the ideas that we pick up that we perceive ourselves as imperfect. So when they say surrender, they mean surrender to your true heart of who you are, which is a total surrender is a total win. And because all of your perfection then emerges, because everything is connected to our perception, our consciousness, that creates physically in our lives. We create the world through what we perceive. When enough agreed on the same misperception, it becomes physical reality, even through perception. So we have to understand surrendering is more than just like, hey, surrender your ideas about this or that. It's you gain the infinity, you gain everything, you gain them, which are everything good in your life, everything good that you could ever perceive. If it's a positive good thing for you and all life comes from them, and they're literally physically with you in your all times. So sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we only see what we only see what we can see in our visible spectrum, but it sounds like we can also see more
Yeah.
if we opened
Well,
ourselves.
I mean, it's absolutely a process of us being a part of that, and learning and going along. But they do physical alterations on people. They did it on me, and they give you these things to help you heal you, but to help you see more. Like they put some kind of blue filters or something in my eyes. I don't have blue eyes, but I see their blue purple energy. I've taken many pictures of it and videos. But the reason why I'm allowed, I can they are with me 24/7. So wherever I look, wherever I put my hands, all of a sudden, boom, 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 these big columns of light. I see these whiffs of smoke, and I see these blue purple orbs in all space, and they're there, and I can touch them, I can feel them, I feel the love, I connect, and they're there with me 24/7, and all of us. But they put some kind of something in my eyes or something to be able to see them in that way, because I wouldn't have been able to before. And I know that because when it started, I started getting these weird eye things where if I looked at a light a certain way, the reflection of whatever object I would look at would stay in my eyes for about a minute or two in this blue purple film like line. It was the weirdest thing. And then it would sort of disappear. And I went to UCLA and all this, like, your eyes are perfect. So I started to understand, because if a light hits me a certain way, this lens or wherever it is, if it's in my third eye, I don't know, but it's a real thing. And so that enables me to be able to see them coupled with our growth and our learning and their help. They actively, literally, not just like theoretically, physically are in your life, helping you, interacting, talking, loving, altering. This is what it is. It's a real friendship. It's a real relationship.
Okay. But you're also able to take photographs and video, you've said.
Yeah,
So, and we can share
absolutely.
some of that on this episode's
Sure.
website,
I
maybe.
have so
Yeah.
many I can send you. I have hundreds and hundreds of videos and
Yeah.
pictures, and like I've deleted probably 1,000 because I stopped getting. I had no more room in the cloud like 20 different times.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not
Another
just
thing
your
that they did.
eyes. If you're, it's not just something in your eyes. If you're able to video it,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. This is not. Yeah, this is not me making stories up. It's there. Yeah, but I mean, I also the biggest UFO website online, Third Phase of Moon. They've got a couple million people that follow them, and they do huge things. They did a documentary on me and came to the house, and and one of the things that they taught me, our cosmic divine creators, is first of all, I see now everybody. I mean, whenever I'm looking during all days, there are hundreds of orbs flying around me. I'm looking. I can also phase that out if I want to focus, like on a cell phone. I cannot see that, because everything is tied to perception and there is no separation. Everything affects everything. But, you know, that's my new normal, and they're columns of light and angels and all of it. But these guys, but also what happens is this healing gift, that's their physicality. The more that you practice it, it more draws your inner energy literally physically outside of you, where you're able to heal and affect and communicate and influence and all this other stuff. And it's their energy and your energy, but you're also able to feel them, in a way, and affect other beings of light to come to be with you. And so now on camera, 24/7, doesn't matter where I am, who I'm with, whatever, I can pop the air, and on camera you'll see beings of light show up, hundreds of orbs fly through, craft fly through, and that's 24/7, no matter what, day or night, rain or shine, period, done deal. and
Okay.
and this Third Phase Moon guys, great guys, Blake Cousin and his brother, really amazing, great filmmakers, great guys, sweet, smart. They tested me, with a bunch of different cameras and different things, and they got, beautiful, amazing beings of light. This W looking being, golden being, showed up, and the smoke and that flew through, and all the orbs, and and it's them. That's not something I could have done prior to them. They created that in me, taught me, showed me, put stuff in me. Our divine creators showed me, hey, you guys are badass, humanity. You guys are badass. We made you. You're a part of us. You're way more than you could ever imagine. Just
Yeah.
surrender your vanity, surrender your ego, learn a little, be adventurous, take a chance, see what's on the other end of that. It'll surprise you. I'm joking, but that's, I
No, I
was
get
willing
that.
to.
So I think that I kind of want to wrap this up, but
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that um the message is
The
we
message is, go ahead. Yeah.
well, I was as I say, one of the messages,
There's
we're
only
playing
one
small.
message.
Okay, I'll let you finish with that, but
Yeah.
I want to just my
Sure.
reflections, based on what you said.
Yeah.
We do not know who we are. We play very small. We don't realize our the magnificence of who we are, who we've been created to be. We're living in this kind of dumbed down world of perception, and
Right.
the darker energies or whatever we want to call them. It's almost like they have us fooled, or all
That's
of the.
exactly what they're trying to do, because
Okay.
their whole thing is about, this is about a war between God and the devil,
Mm-hmm.
demons, darkness. This is a war over humanity, over our brilliance and our connection, and their magnificence and brilliance, and that spark of life that they gave us and all life, and the freedom that comes with that, and that's, it's all expression of them. They're brilliant, they're magnificent. When I say our brilliance, I'm talking about them through us, and their love for us and all life, and that man has no inherent value over any other living thing, and all life is this. And the spark of life has been, this all is about the carnage that we're seeing is because they're very upset with how we've treated the spark of life and all living things, and how we've, raised ourselves above other living things, and let go of the honoring that, and so this is a war between God and evil over all living things, and if we're just speaking about humanity, evil getting humanity to surrender their spark of life for nothing,
Mm-hmm.
as an fu, excuse my finger,
Mm-hmm.
as an fu to God.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that's, and they are not going to ride in on giant horses and go, hey, we're here. They really want us to show up for ourselves and for nature and for them and for that spark of life and all innocence and all living things. They really want that from us, because this is what it's about. All the other noise it's not about any of that. And this is the last chance for humanity from them. And they want us. Oh shit!
We
Sorry,
need to
I just
step
saw a
up.
hawk. Yeah, yeah, I just saw a hawk. Yeah, because they really can roll up the universe and go away. And what they're not going to do that, but they're going to only allow a very small few of people to get through this, and they're going to restore all the innocent life that's been lost, and all the nature and all that stuff. But there's going to be intense carnage coming. There is, and there's going to be way more. And they want us to surrender all of our BS and come to them again and start over, and then stand up for them and all life and all of their divine covenants that come from the spark of life and nature and family and freedom and protecting each other and innocence. They want us to, because that's what's being under siege. And
It's almost like a
that's it.
restoration of Eden. I know you're not a Bible person, but
Yeah, I'm
uh,
not, but
yeah, but I mean,
but
it is.
that's
It's
right.
like the
That's right.
original garden. The original
Yes,
garden was the original intent, is the
this
original
is what
design.
that.
Yeah,
This
and
is
we're
that story, because yeah, sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
no, I was
You're
just gonna
right.
say that we're on this journey back, and we can either
Yes,
choose to go back or
it
to
just did
go.
a blue flash just now. Yes,
What
you're
are
right.
are those blue flashes saying anything about what we're saying?
Yes, that's what that means.
Oh,
When they do a
okay.
blue flash, that's like them saying right on. Yes,
Okay,
amen.
great. Yeah.
That's what that means. That means you're, yes, keep going. You're
Okay.
good. There
All
you
right.
are.
All right.
Keep going.
Great.
That's what that means. I was going to tell you, because I don't know the Bible. I spoke to them a couple nights ago. I was in the backyard and I go, so this started when? The Garden of Eden, because of that separation? They said, correct. This is that.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
that war. And they did a shooting star over my head. I'm like, wow, that's trippy.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna
wow.
follow
That's,
up with some of those ideas because there's a lot of biblical stuff and things that you're saying. And when we talked earlier before we started recording, I did mention that in Genesis, God refers to God's self as us. They created male and female
yeah,
as
I didn't
us,
know
and
that.
yeah, and
And they always say us and we. I
yeah,
go, I love you, thank you, thank you. I'm always like saying love you, thank you, because I've been getting attacked recently. I told you about this. Like, it never happened for years. And then all of a sudden, since I started doing my podcast, by the way, my podcast is on Podbean, The Return of God and Angels on Podbean. It's free. Podbean, The Return of God and Angels with Christopher Peters. Please come and check it out. I also have a YouTube channel. I think, what is it again? Alien US Government UFO. Alien US Government UFO. But yeah, I can't remember what we were saying. What we were saying.
That's okay. I think we're
Yeah.
talking about Eden, and we're talking
Right.
about the Bible, and
Yeah.
I think I'm probably going to do another podcast just with
You
my own
should.
reflections about all this to talk about all the
Please
biblical
do it.
stuff I'm seeing here. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to return. This is going down 1,000%. What I don't know, and I can't, not that I can predict anything, because I can't predict jack, but I talk to them every day, and most of what they tell me, and sometimes I get stuff wrong because I perceive what they're saying the wrong way. But they are going to return. And one day you're going to wake up and you're going to see the stars that you think are stars in the night sky, the ones that I talked about. They're going to be out during the day and not leaving. And they're going to be all over the world. And that is the beginning of that next phase of real intensity in terms of them coming back, not as, the sweet, Emmanuel and all of these beautiful creators, as that sweet sort of like loving. They're coming back, looking to kick some A, not for the people that have stood up for them in all life and innocence, but for the people who have not, or have been silent, who have let innocence go, who have allowed this tyranny. They're not getting out of this just because they're and I ask them over and over about this stuff, because I'm like, that's hard for me to even wrap my head around. And I'm with them 24/7, seeing, feeling, thing. And, and they confirm it like, yep, we're definitely coming back, and our thing, what we're doing now is mitigating the carnage, because when we have a relationship with them, it changes everything. They
Well, yeah.
actively,
Yeah. I
they
mean,
actively go into your life and help you succeed.
right.
I mean, help jobs go through, as long as there's good
Right.
intention connected to it, help your family, protect, heal. So it's important, but that affects the bigger picture in all ways, in terms of good, and that's how we change this situation, because that is what defeats this darkness, is this, what's the word, when we have a revival, of being with them, but in a good way. In a way that's not religious, not about that, but about love and connection, helping.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I've said many times that we have all chosen to be here. All of us are chosen
Yeah.
to be here at this time in history, and there's pivotal stuff going on, and
Yeah.
we can play our part. And my ministry has always been about surrendering to spirit, surrendering to God. I haven't had the same experience of the divine as you have, but I have had the relationship. I have the relationship. And so we all have this opportunity to engage in this
Yeah.
relationship with God, with our creator beings, the divine, and see what transpires for us, because that is like the way. And I
Yeah.
think that's what the
Totally.
message is. And
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
You're doing amazing. I mean, look, you're doing what is being asked. It would be great. I would love you to have this, because it's there for you. There's nothing about me. Only thing that happened with me is that I got to know them in this way. But it's meant for everybody, because this is all of our story. But you're doing amazing stuff. I mean, all the stuff you're doing is awesome. That's how I found you, because you're so awesome, and because people love
Thank you.
you.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been talking to the creator beings and saying, "Hey, I'm ready to see you."
Well, I'll send you emails of suggestions on, on what, things to do to go out at night and do certain things, and it'll happen. It's just they have a very funny sense of humor, very weird. It's never in the way. First of all, it's never in your time frame,
Sure.
but they really are hilariously funny and sweet. And I mean, I have so many different videos of playing like ELO songs and Crosby, Stills, and Nash songs, and saying, "Hey, do X, Y, and Z at a certain point in the song. Wouldn't that be cool?" And da da da. And they do it like crazy stuff, like Crossing, Shooting Stars on the downbeat of Simon and Garfunkel. Hello darkness, my friend. When something, the light splits the night. The
Yeah.
sound is not splits the night, and they did this like Shooting Stars that went like like it was just crazy. I was like, oh my god, you guys are amazing. It's just crazy. So yeah, I happily do that. But you're doing amazing and awesome. And so thank you for letting me to be a part of your world and all of your friends that love you and are a part of this family. And this really is what you're doing is the most important work that anybody could be doing in their lives, helping, whether it's what you do or another person's expression of that, this time period, for all of you listening, talking to your friends, your family in the market, whatever your version of the work is, it's what saves all life.
Yeah.
And because they're looking to isolate and disconnect us from each other, to cover our faces, to teach us a new culture of isolation, a new disconnection from nature, and a plugging into technology that has nothing to do with God or each other or humanity or compassion. And then when you are dulled, your senses are dulled like that, and you're isolated and you're removed from your touchstones of what makes you human, you're easier to, it's easier to not be caring and help others, and let's say a lot worse. So everyone listening is doing amazing, just by participating in what you're doing, what you're creating, listening. This is what saves everything. So just be more proactive, listen to you more, download more of your podcast, tell friends. It takes a village
Yeah,
in
I
a
agree.
serious way.
We need to be in
Yeah,
action. Okay.
for
Thank you,
sure. Yeah.
Christopher. Yeah,
Thank you.
I enjoyed. I think we could talk another few hours, but
Yeah.
I gotta get off, and I think you do too.
Yeah. I got
Um,
to go pee pee.
but thank you so much for sharing your experience, your relationship. I love that
Thank
it's
you.
about a relationship,
Yeah,
and your
it is.
story. Yeah.
Thank you.
All
All right,
right.
cool.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Take
And I
care.
now
Thanks, guys.
close the
Bye bye.
spiritual forum. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.